three. Hello, Kiafa. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. A little bit tired, but here with this
Me
date
too.
we have with our people.
Yes. Listen, I got the bags under my eyes. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. But other than that, I'm great. So I'm happy to be here.
We have a commitment with all the people that is waiting for this episode because
Yeah.
today we're going to talk about something very interesting and very important, especially for those who are aiming to relocate to Merida, which is the leasing agreements. No.
Yes, absolutely. The leasing agreements has been like the talk of Merida. So I think we really, really need to dive deep into it because, yeah, it's a lot going on.
Definitely, this is going to be like a super hot topic, and I hope there's a lot of questions that we can solve today here because it's a thing that's happening right now in Merida. But before, let's introduce ourselves because the last time we didn't do that, and probably there's people like, yeah, but which authority do you have for talking about real estate? Who are you? So I'm going to introduce myself again. This is Karinna Gala. So I've been a real estate agent for close to 2 decades now, and yeah, I'm here to help you with all your real estate endeavors. And this is Kiafa.
Yes, so I am Kiapa, and I have been in real estate since 2019. I was a realtor in Georgia, in the Atlanta area, and since then I moved here to Merida probably about 5 months ago, and I've been working with Karinna ever since. So now I've transitioned into property here in Mexico, and I love it. I'm excited. So I'm excited about it.
And you've been doing like great.
Oh,
Before
thank you.
now that you're talking about this, I would like to ask you so you can tell all the people who is watching your
Yeah.
favorite thing living in Merida, or what's the most I don't know, satisfying thing that you found living in Merida.
Okay, so I would have to say one of the things would have to be the people. The people here have been so nice. Like the people that deliver my water, they're always asking me, "Hey, if you need anything, just let me know. If you have to go here, if you have to go there, you need us to pick up something for you." They've been so nice and so supportive. And then I have a couple of drivers who have been so nice. They'll just tell me, "Hey, if you need anything, let me know." Like just besides whatever, if you need something fixed or whatever the case may be. So a lot of the people here have actually been very friendly and very nice. So that's been like a really big, pleasant surprise. Um, I do love the malls here. That's for sure. I really, really like the malls. And I love the beaches. The beaches here are like none of the beaches I've ever seen in the US. So I must say, I love the beaches. So, yeah, that's me.
Actually, I think now that you're mentioning the beaches, I think I remember that the first time you went to a beach there when you recently moved in Merida, I was there with you, right? We were in a property tour, or am I
Yes.
wrong?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yes. So that was my first time. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, look at this water. It's so clear and it's like green. I was just like, wow. It blew me away. Like I was just like, wow. Yeah. So that was actually my first time seeing the beaches here was showing properties with Karinna. And so I just had to go and put my feet in the water. And I was just like, I love it. I was just like, I love it here. So since then, I've been back a couple of times. I went to Progresso, and then I went back to I think it's Chaberna Beach. I think that's the name of it. I'm probably mispronouncing it, but the water was just so. It was more further past Chilem and Progresso, and it was just so pretty. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember. I think actually we have some videos about that first encounter with you and the Mexican beaches because I mean, the excitement was contagious. It was just amazing. So I think
Right.
I'm going to
Yeah.
look for them. I'm going to share them with you, so maybe you want to share them with our friends because yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely contagious.
Yeah,
But going back to the
you have the candid version. So yeah, because I recorded, but you probably have me like actually out there with my feet in the water walking around. I'm like, I love my job. I'm like, I love what I do, selling those beachfront properties. And those were some beautiful properties too. So yeah, I love it.
I think it was Chelem, no? I cannot remember now, but yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was Chelem.
Uh,
So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Just thinking about that makes me want to go to the beach, and I live like 10 minutes away from the beach, and
But
I never
did
go. Yeah.
really? I thought you went recently.
Excuse me.
Did you go to the beach recently?
Uh, I
No?
think
Okay.
last
I
time,
thought okay, okay. I
like
thought you did.
no, no, no. It's ironic, because when you live close to the beach, you don't go to the beach. It's just like a rule. So
Hmm.
if
Yeah.
you're if you're watching this and you're trying to move to Playa del Carmen, Cancun, or any coastal town, just do not take this advice. I mean, if you live by the beach, then just go to the beach, because there's people who has to wait for the whole year for being able to go on vacations on a coastal town. So yeah, sometimes it's just wasted. And talking about the people that you like there in Merida, tell us more about the community. It's been like more locals, or it's been more expats, or it's been a mix, or just
Hmm.
for the people to
Yeah.
know what to expect.
So yeah, for me, it's actually been a mix of people. So it's been a mix of the locals and the expats. The expat community here has been great. Like they have been really, really welcoming to me, and they're the ones who send me all of my referrals. So like a lot of the people who are watching this and that are gonna watch it, because a lot of people do come back and watch these lives, are people that were referred to me by other expats. So they have just welcomed me with open arms here, and everybody is just so, it's such a community feel like that I never really felt in the States, to be honest. I mean, we look out for each other here. Everybody is just here for each other. So I love that. And then with the locals too, I know you said that a lot of Mexicans like foreigners. And I do feel that here. You know, I have felt that from the true locals here. Just opening up their arms to me, and then even when it comes to like speaking Spanish, like it's my Spanish is not the best, but I'm trying to learn, and they really appreciate the fact that I'm trying, even if I screw it up. They like they appreciate it, and so it's like they're working with me. So yeah, everybody has been nice on both sides, so I love it.
That's good. I think us Mexicans are known for being warm, no, like our weather.
Yes, yes, because it's definitely hot. For sure, it's
I
definitely
hope I hope people has that impression from us, because if not, I'm going to feel like very very embarrassed. So,
hot.
and
Exactly.
is
So
there
for
something that you don't like about living there in Merida?
yeah, I mean, so to me, living in Merida is like living in the 90s in the States at times. So it can be, yeah, so processes here can take longer. So it can be slower here. The amount of time it may take for someone to come and just like fix something in your apartment. You know what I mean? Like it could take forever. Like you might even schedule an appointment. You may schedule an appointment for, let's just say, Monday, and then on Monday, let's say Monday at 10, and then 10 they're not there, 12 they're not there, 3 they're not there, and so you're wondering like where are they? So then the next day they may not show up. So you may just be like, you know what, maybe they're not coming, and then all of a sudden they may show up on Wednesday. So it's like yeah, it's like they may just show up out of the blue and be like, oh, my cousin had a wedding or a birthday party or something, because it's very family oriented here, and that's another thing that I love. It is so family oriented. Like you'll walk through the mall and see like families of 10 people just walking together, and I love that. Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's like the whole entire family. It's the cousins, the uncles, nieces, nephews, grandma, like everybody's just in the mall together. But I kind of like that because I like the togetherness. I don't You don't see that a lot in the States. You don't see like families walking together or going out to eat like that unless maybe it's a special occasion. But yeah, so I would have to say dislikes would probably be that. Let's see, another dislike is probably like there are a lot of like big speed bumps in the road. I forgot how you say that in Spanish, but like the speed bumps that you go over,
Oh, yeah,
just in the middle of the road. Yeah, and like I mean, riding in the Ubers, you'll just be riding down the road, and then all of a sudden, like one time, the driver I guess didn't see the speed bump, and he just flew over, and my head hit the roof of the car, and I had the worst headache. I was like, what the hell, like. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes they just don't really slow down for them. So like that right there, that's been a pain. And then sometimes the heat. I like hot. I like heat, but sometimes every now and then it can be a little bit much, especially when I first got here. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, other than that, I love it.
Yeah, I think Merida is one of the hottest places in the it's not the south of Mexico, but we know that area as the south of Mexico. In the peninsula, it's
Right.
actually the hottest city. They are reaching constantly above, I think it's 100 Fahrenheit, something like that. I mean, we use metric system, so
Oh,
it's
man. Yeah.
about 50 Celsius,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is
Even. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I know it got up to like at least 100. I remember getting up to 108 degrees if we were to put that into degrees. So yeah, it was very, very hot, very hot. So what about you? I know you're not currently living in Merida, but you're from here. So tell me what you like and don't like about Mexico, even though you're from here.
I am from Mexico City. I was born in Mexico
Oh,
City,
okay.
in very different places around the country. Well, I'm a beach person, so of course I love the beaches. I've been living on the coast for close to 30 years, even in the Gulf of Mexico mostly, and recently, I mean, from 2018, if I'm not wrong, on the Caribbean, which I really really love it. So I love nature. Yes, definitely. I think that's my the thing I love the most of living here in Mexico, the landscapes and everything. What I don't like is certainly the informality and the lack of punctuality.
That
It's
part.
when, when we moved to. I used to live before moving here on an island, an oil island on the Gulf of Mexico. It's called Ciudad del Carmen. Maybe it's known because of the Campeche Bay, which is where most of the oil production is coming from. So I used to live there for 15 years. Actually, my kids were born in there. And when I moved there, I was a very punctual person, and I used to be like 15 minutes before the time of the appointment. And
Okay.
before, sorry, I let's say that we were having an appointment at 3 p.m., and then I would be there at 2:45, and then I would have to wait not only the 15 minutes I arrived earlier, but another 30 minutes because that's how it works there.
That's just
So,
how it is. Yeah, that's just how it is.
and
Wow.
unfortunately, you cannot educate people because this is how it is. So, the only situation or the only alternative you have is just to be patient and to
Yeah,
train your. That's the only advice I can give you.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I think that a lot of people moving here have to realize that it's different here, and you have to be patient. If you don't have the patience to deal with the differences, it can be difficult. And I have seen a couple of people struggle with that. The level of service that you get here is just not the same as it is in the states. So you do have to be patient, and I am thankful that I worked on my patience before I came here. So because listen, you have to be very patient, and but I mean, other than that, I can take that with everything else because it's more things that I love about living here than anything else. So I'm happy. I like it, And then, not to mention, Karinna, you have actually been one of those people that have welcomed me with open arms, and you've been so nice to me. You've actually been here for me, so I really appreciate you as well. I mean, you were the first person that welcomed me, so I mean, I feel like we are like sisters or family, So I really appreciate you. So thank you as well.
No, thank you. There's a Before delving into the topic of today, there used to be a singer. I think she was born in Costa Rica or Puerto Rico. I cannot remember, and I might be lying right now. She was called Chabela Vargas, and she lived in Mexico for a long, long time. And before she died, she was giving an interview, and somebody told her, "Yeah, but you are not Mexican. You were born somewhere else." And she replied, "Yes, us Mexicans are born wherever we want. So maybe you're already a Mexican now."
Listen, if you
Who
think
was
about
born.
it, you have the US and then you have Mexico. It's just one mass of land. We're all here on this continent, and the only thing that separates us are these imaginary lines that's given to us by the government. It's actually one big landmass all the way up to Canada. So we have to think about that before um, people came and took over. It was just one big landmass, and we got to travel back and forth as we wanted to. So when you think about that, hey, you may be right, right?
We're
So
of the world.
exactly, exactly. So
So I would love to keep on talking about all the things we love and the ones we dislike about living here in Mexico. But
right,
I think want to want us to go directly to the topic we're aiming to
yes.
today. So I let you start with that.
We're today's topic. We're going to be talking a little bit about leasing agreements. So with the leasing agreements, it's been a hot topic here in Merida because there's just been a lot going on. We did have the one incident where there was a lady who claimed that she was being kidnapped because a provider was not allowing for her to leave. She claimed that she was being held against her will and different things like that. It really raised a big red flag in the expat community. And because, long story short, we came to find out she actually was not kidnapped or being held against her will. She was free to go. It just had to do with the fact that she was very many months behind on her rent and other bills and utilities that she owed. So she was not being held against her will. She was actually able to leave. They were telling her, "You're free to go in your daughter's car. You guys can leave," but they just were not allowing for her to leave with her things in her own personal vehicle. So we're going to dive a little bit into providers and the ins and outs because I do have a lot of clients. Even those that I have helped rent, that have asked me, "Hey, do you think I should move into a provider because I don't want to be stuck in a provider?" It has a bad name as well. A lot of people call providers prisons because they feel like, once you're late, they may not let your Uber in, or they may not allow for you to do certain things. So I'll just leave it at that. But so that's why we kind of wanted to dive into leasing agreements, and then also because kind of want to give you the differences between here and in the U.S. so that you'll know a little bit about what to expect. So yeah, did you want to start us off, Karinna, or you want me to start with mine?
Okay, let's start delving directly into the two different leasing agreements. Well,
Yeah.
not leasing, but rental agreements we have available in Merida. The first one and the most, well, actually not the most common in Merida, but the most common probably all around the world is the regular leasing agreement, which in Spanish is called Contrato de Arrendamiento.
Right.
So you want
Yeah.
to tell our friends
Yeah.
about
So,
that?
so yeah, this particular leasing agreement, like she said, is it's very popular here because there are two different types. With this one, we're going to go over the long term leasing agreement. With that, it's 1 year or more for the leasing agreement term. Um, in order for you to lease in the actual leasing agreement, it will state that the landlord may ask you for certain things. Now, they are more lenient here when it comes to you renting properties. You don't have to worry about a credit check and different things like that. However, there have been a lot of things going on here where we're starting to see things change and get a little bit more strict when it comes to people renting and the qualifications. Like when I first got here, they weren't asking for bank statements. They were not asking for proof of employment or anything like that. But now it's gotten a little bit. I'm seeing it get a little bit more strict. They are asking some of them because just remember that this can vary. But they are asking for bank statements, sometimes 6 months, sometimes up to 1 year bank statements. They're supposed to be to show and prove that you can afford to pay the rent. However, listen, I like to get the specifics up front because I recently had a client to where they wanted the bank statements. We sent the bank statements over to them. And the issue was that they're saying, "Oh no, they need to make 3 times the rent." So just know that those are typically the requirements in the US to rent, yes. But just know that the landlords do still have a right here to ask for certain requirements to be met before you move into their properties. And it's getting just a little bit more strict. So I just wanted to make you guys aware that now it is kind of it is kind of the norm for them to maybe ask for a bank statement just to make sure that you are able to afford the rent. However, not all of the landlords are asking for this, but they are starting to ask for it. Like I said, when I got here, nobody was asking for it at all, but more recently, they have started to ask for it. And also, they may ask for a rental history. I haven't had that happen as of yet, but it could happen. References, so keep that in mind, and possible background checks. Okay, again, all of these things are optional and it's completely up to the landlord. As far as documents are concerned, of course, for a lot of foreigners, your passport. Um, if you are a permanent resident, they'll probably ask for the proof of your residency here. If you're a permanent resident or if you're a temporary resident, so just be prepared to have like those basic documents for them as well. Now, when it comes to the leasing agreement, it's going to state the parties that are involved. So, of course, that would be yourself and the landlord. I've noticed that with couples, they typically still only want one person's information. So, I'm not seeing them have like both, people's name on it. If it is a couple, typically they only want one person's information. But again, just know that that could probably vary as well. They'll also have on the leasing agreement the property description, which is just the legal description of the home, which is basically the address. It'll have the lease term. It'll also have the rental amount, the due date, the method of payment, grace period, and late fees. So, with the method of payment, just know that that can vary as well. Here it's a little bit different in Mexico. If you remember earlier, I said that it can be compared to the 90s. So you guys remember in the 90s in the U.S., what did we do? Cash. It was all about cash. That's how it is here. In the States, it's pretty much a cashless society for the most part, and we just used to swiping our cards. But here, cash is king. And so a lot of the people here still want cash. That's including the landlord to pay your rent. So we'll have to know the specifics of that. If for some reason you are more comfortable with doing a like a transfer, then just know that that's possible as well. I did recently have a client who was like, I absolutely would not pay cash. I want to do it so that I have the bank, basically the proof from the bank that I actually paid my rent. But just know that if you are paying with cash, they do have something called pagares. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but what is it?
Pagaré,
Pagare,
which
which is
say
also
that I will pay.
yes. And it's just like, or it could be called a promissory agreement. So every time, what's going to happen is when you go and you sign your lease, you'll sign 12 promissory agreements if it's for 1 year, one for each month. And when you sign that, let's just say you start renting in September, so you'll sign 12 from September to next year, and every time you pay that cash, they're going to give you a promissory agreement that you signed at the date of signing, stating that you paid that because it's basically a promise to pay. All right. So if you're paying with cash, you don't have to worry. You'll still have proof and everything that you actually paid your rent. So you don't have to worry about that. Um, Yes. So also another thing that you're going to have is your it will state inside of the lease agreement your security deposit information, how much you did pay for the security. But if it was two security, but I'm going to dive into the security deposits in a little bit, but that will also be on the leasing agreement. It'll include maintenance and repairs and whose responsibility the maintenance and repairs
There-
are.
There's like, I think it's good. Like,
Oh,
the
okay. Okay. All right, cool. So maintenance and repairs, it will state who's the responsible party for that. Sometimes the maintenance is included in the rent, sometimes it's not. Also, just a little tip. A lot of times the landlords here are they'll work with you as far as maintenance. So, some will include it in the rent, some will not, but a lot of times they will go ahead and work with you when it comes to that. Another thing will be in there is utilities and services. So gas, water, electric, internet. It'll state who's responsible. It'll state who's responsible for that. The use of property. So it's basically going to state whether the property can be used for commercial purposes or not, or if it's only residential. Because I have noticed here that there are some homes that I noticed they're allowed to like use it as well for like commercial property as well. So I noticed that as well. But it'll state that whether you can do that or not in the lease. Entry and access, which is basically the tenant's right to access the property. And it'll tell you about the restrictions when it comes to subleasing. So if you're going to be thinking about subleasing, most of the landlords here don't allow for you to sublease. So just keep that in mind. But it will be stated in the leasing agreement. It'll also state the rules and regulations or like the community guidelines. It would also state your notice periods for lease termination or renewal. Just basically stating if you were to terminate the lease, it'll tell you in there just the guidelines upon if you're going to do that, and also if you decide to renew the lease as well. Another thing that will be stated is the insurance requirements, aka renters insurance. But I haven't come across any renters who were um, responsible for paying any renters insurance. Dispute resolution. So if there is a dispute or discrepancy with you and the landlord, it'll talk about the mediation process, or if it's through arbitration, and just the process for that. And last but not least, signatures. Both parties will sign the leasing agreement. So that sums up pretty much that leasing agreement, which is very long. It has a lot, but it has all the important things that you need to have in the leasing agreement. One thing that I do want to talk about before Karinna goes over her leasing agreement, what you're going to need when you move here to Mexico is, in order to rent, you will be needing more than likely two deposits if you don't have an avail, which is also aka a guarantor, or also known as a co-signer, which is something that Karinna is going to talk about a little bit later. So if you don't have a co-signer here, you will need two deposits. Let me just say this about the two deposits, y'all. Like, literally, two deposits is the norm here. Like in Yucatan, where I am, it's just the norm. I'm sorry. Like, a lot of people are trying to get around the two deposits, but I mean, it is what it is. It's two deposits, and you have to kind of understand, coming from the landlord's perspective, you're coming here, and if you don't have a permanent residency, if you don't have a temporary residency, can you hear me, Karinna?
It's like super low. A friend of us watching just told us there was like interference. I heard the same, but so it at the beginning it was like if there was some static, but now it sounds like if it was like the mic was obstructed.
Okay. Is it better now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
If it happens again, just let me know. Yeah, just let me know if it happens again, you guys.
Uh,
We're good?
Static is back again.
Okay. I'll let you talk about the deposits then.
Before talking about, I would like to talk about the occupancy agreement, which is the most used in Merida and some other places in the peninsula. I mean, Playa del Carmen. Is this is Convenio Transaccional de Desocupación. This uh, this could be translated occupancy. This agreement is intended to be agreement to the lease, but as we've mentioned before, in Mérida, and especially in Yucatan, I mean, in all in Yucatan, people stick to their customs and habits. So the practices or traditions play a role in every single thing happening in the city. So you will find super common that instead of having the lease you're going to have the Convenio Transaccional de Desocupación. Entrega, the occupancy. What is the difference in this agreement and the regular agreement? One second, please. I forgot to say the plane and flying code, and I have some notifications popping up. Get this right. So the main difference is that the main thing, I don't know how to say it, my English went broke. The most important thing treated in the agreement is the procedures of the property from the moment that or the occupant in or takes possession of the property to the very moment when they leave. So this is the most important situation, the occupancy agreement. And in legal terms, this is preventing going into a court in case of a controversy. Easier to keep off the people that occupying the property. That's why people is using. So the main way should be have a agreement and the complementary occupancy agreement, negotiate the terms and conditions for property vacant once the contract. So you will find well that in the occupancy states that the occupant taking possession with no rights. So it's kind of abuse on the tenant side from the owner side, the tenant, because the tenant has no rights. The price or the financial things are not stated also in the occupancy agreement. That's why you will have to sign these pagares or the promissory notes because the stated in the contract. To the contract, basically, as a are there without any financial obligation. I mean, you're just you with no obligation. The other thing that states in the contract is maintenance. Who's in charge of what? Who's responsible of what? While the occupancy is occurring. So let's say that the occupant is in charge of paying the bills, of course, and the owner is in charge of paying the HOA fee in case you're living or in a condominium regime. Things like that. It's also stated when the person enters in the property and when is the tenant leaving. That's the most important thing that's stated in this agreement. In legal terms, this is taken as a judged thing. I don't know if that's a correct translation for explaining it, but it doesn't have the need, or as an owner, you don't have the need for going into a court for getting the occupant out. So it's an aggressive contract, of course, against the tenant. But if there's an increased interest in renting in Mexico because it's the safest in Mexico, like we've mentioned before, of course they want to protect themselves, and now setting also more requirements you've mentioned earlier in this episode. My advice for you as a tenant, they are telling me, are you listening to me clearly? Because
It's like
here,
going in and out. It's like going in and out.
let me take my computer a little not so close. So let's see the record of this session. Let's hope it is not showing there. Otherwise, we will have to talk about this again.
Yeah,
So yes, the advice would be to have both of the contracts together, the leasing agreement and the complementary occupancy agreement. Of course, both of the parties need to be protected. The tenant has to be protected from irresponsible. The owner has to be protected from irresponsible tenants, and also has to be protected from abusive. So it's about having a negotiation, find a good attorney that take you by the hand to all of these steps, and having a good contract, a good contract, and also have a translation if the attorney you are working with, because most of the time is the owner who selects the attorney. They are not providing you a translated version of the listing. Just go to ChatGPT or Google Translate, but I would recommend ChatGPT doesn't have the mistakes of translation. So just copy and paste will have a very accurate translation, and at least you will be able to understand what's going on in this contract, and you will be prevented from these bad situations like the one we were talking about earlier, like the woman that was kidnapped and that was not being able to leave. So yes, the Cuban agreement, I mean, is an aggressive agreement from the owner to the tenants, but it's for the owner to prevent bad situations and long trials for taking the late tenants. No, late tenants means that's dead, no? So you know what I mean. Someone not paying or not complying their responsibility for being able to take them out without having to go to court. So this is more or less how it works, and this is why people in Merida is using it like very very often as the main legal for renting.
Yes, yes. And that's important to know because we did have some clients who had their own attorney, and their attorney thought that we were using a rental agreement that was not like legal or whatever, you know. So there are two. That's why we're going over two different rental agreements because there are two. There's one that's mostly used here, but there's one that's probably different than maybe one used in Mexico City. So just know that. Okay?
I still a lot of things hard to understand.
What it is with the connection. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe it's the owner wants us to let our friends know about
Maybe.
pressing.
Okay.
Yes.
Hopefully, watching this back, people will be able to hear. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but like it sounds like like a hum thing we're listening to. That would be very helpful.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm sorry, you guys, about that. I'll let you talk.
I think probably it's a good idea just to stop it here and have the second part of this episode in the next week.
Okay.
I'm froze, so we can try to solve the situation because probably if it's not if the sound is not good, then we will have maybe to talk about this again in the next week. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so somebody, my brother is actually sending me some videos of the episode so we can listen to the interference. So it's on both sides. So probably it's because of the tropical disturbances we have above us currently. Let's see.
Yeah, yeah, probably so. So, all righty. Well, if we have to, next week. Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. I actually see my image completely froze, so I don't see myself anymore.
I don't see
So
you.
no, I'm gone. So thank you very much to everyone who stayed until now. Thank you, Keith.
All right.
Now I don't hear you anymore.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.